Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you've had a fantastic Wednesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today is this insane story out of Egypt. There's this singer by the name of Shaima Ahmed. Professionally, she's just known as Shaima. She released a video last month, and it sparked massive outrage in Egypt. It was a music video for her song, I Have Issues. Some of the offending scenes include her in front of a classroom. You can see her bra on the board. It says number 69. She's looking at an apple. She's being sensual with a banana. She and other men in the background start putting their mouths to some tacos. And then there's this scene where she pours milk on the banana. And this is big news. They were talking about it on TV talk shows, blogs, newspapers. The singer reportedly responded to the backlash on her Facebook, writing, "My apologies to all people who watched the video and did not like it because they think it's inappropriate. I did not expect such a harsh backlash from people. As a singer, I only sung the song and I do not have any knowledge and understanding and direction and many other things." But that wasn't the end of it. Soon after, Egyptian state media outlets reported that the singer and the director of the music video were arrested on November 18th following complaints about the video. And then yesterday, a Cairo court found them guilty of inciting debauchery and publishing an indecent film. Both of them ended up getting sentenced to 2 years in prison and had to pay a fine of 10,000 Egyptian pounds. And pun not intended, but this whole situation is bananas. And unfortunately, this is just another example of the government cracking down on artists. Just to remind you, since taking power in 2014, Sisi, he's used wide-ranging morality laws to crack down on artists, blocking critical voices on TV, print, some digital content. You may also be wondering why the picture of President Sisi I'm using has him with Mickey Mouse ears. And the reason I'm doing that is in Egypt, that's illegal. Egypt actually jailed a 22-year-old law student for posting that image. 3 years behind bars. And obviously that's in a different lane to the kind of censorship we're seeing here, but it is still censorship. When it comes to female artists, we've also seen other dancers jailed for months. One singer is facing trial for, quote, spreading provocative publicity just because she suggested that drinking from the Nile River might make you ill. So she's facing trial for causing an unjustified mockery of Egypt. And that's without even diving into how the government goes after the LGBT community. And I don't really know if there's a main point here. It's just seeing stories like this, it infuriates me, but it also makes me so thankful that we do have this freedom of speech, this freedom of expression to be who we are and to do what we want to do. I don't know, this story's just crazy to me. Then, in another update on the Keaton Jones story, this kid just can't win right now. Reports are coming out today that his father is a jailed white supremacist. He has CWB on his neck, which stands for crazy white boy. People went through his Facebook where he posted Aryan pride, holy fuck I love being white memes. A picture was found where you can see pure breed and white pride tattooed on his chest. Now, I personally stand by the belief, once again, that we need to separate Keaton from his parents. It's unclear what kind of relationship he has with his son. The last picture we see of the estranged father and son together is January 2015. But even that's in a public place, so is it like visitation, check-in? But what it does affect the most is Kimberly Jones, Keaton's mother. She, as you might remember, tried to dismiss the photos of them with the Confederate flag. Just as ironic, as funny. So now, obviously, you have a lot of people looking at the father going, are you sure? And also, because I don't feel like repeating myself for 2.5 minutes, if you want to see the other misinformation that is out there around this story, I'll link to yesterday's video and the video before. But an update to one of those pieces of misinformation, people were saying that the family started a GoFundMe. The truth is that was started by someone else who said they wanted to raise money for the family. And the mother, Kimberly Jones, has actually released a statement saying, my family has no intentions of collecting any money from any GoFundMe. I would ask that any money collected through the kindness of strangers be given to one or more verified anti-bullying campaigns or foundations in an effort to raise awareness and give help to all victims of bullying. But with all of that said, I do want to once again reiterate, Keaton is not his parents. Keaton is Keaton. You are you. It is not okay to harass and bully this boy, as I've seen more and more in the past 2 days because of who his parents might be. And it's just disappointing because I know people are going to look at this and go, see, this is evidence. This is evidence that Keaton said the N-word, which once again was an allegation that seemingly is based on nothing real. Someone said the person that found the photos said some stuff. It's a blind claim in the world, to which people say, well, how do we know that Keaton was actually bullied? Well, the school has even confirmed there was a bullying incident, but did try to downplay the severity of it, said that it was being handled. But main point, if we do not separate people from their parents, we don't separate people from other people's past, how the hell can we expect to actually move forward and work together? Also, it's just a quick side note for anyone that's maybe watching me for the first time. I'm approaching this story as someone that has a mindset of fuck a white supremacist, fuck bigotry in general. I've seen people somehow argue that because I'm trying to defend Keaton Jones, that in that way I'm a white supremacist apologist somehow. The leaps people make these days are Olympic tier. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by DeFrancoElite.com. DeFranco Elite, of course, fantastic way to get some early videos from me, exclusive videos, exclusive live streams. We actually just did one yesterday. You also get access to our private Discord. Also, it's the only place where you can get this awesome exclusive poster. And so if you want to get any and all of that awesomeness and at the same time support what we're making, what we're building, go to DeFrancoElite.com and sign up. And the first bit of awesome, I just got to pimp out Side Night and Happiness. They put out this mini yesterday called Clean Your Room, and it's just so enjoyable to me. And thanks to Vanity Fair, we had some of the Last Jedi cast putting their hand in a box TikTok, seeing what happens. We also had Google putting out this really interesting Year in Search 2017 video. We also got this really interesting trailer for Annihilation. And if you want to see the full version to everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about this wild story about Gibson's Bakery in Oberlin, Ohio. And this story involves an incident from November of last year. It involves 4 main people: Alan Gibson, the bakery owner's son, and 3 students for Oberlin College: Jonathan Alladin, Endia Lawrence, and Cecilia Whetstone. In November of last year, police responded to an altercation that spilled out of the bakery and onto the street. There were 2 conflicting accounts of the incident. According to Gibson, he confronted one of the students that he believed to be trying to steal 2 bottles of wine, saying when they tried to walk out of the store, Gibson took out his phone, he tried to take pictures of them. That's when he says Alladin swipes at his phone, he hits Gibson in the face, and according to the police report, Allen stated he never threw a punch at Alladin and just kept attempting to grab him to keep him from hitting him and leaving the store. According to one witness, there was no verbal confrontation before things got physical. But we also got a different story from one witness, Andy Golzer, who said he was literally just standing there and Alan Gibson comes running from the back of the store screaming "shoplifter" and grabs him. The kid's like, "Get off me, I'm not doing anything." At this point, people in the store are starting to yell, "Get off him, what are you doing?" At this point, a few people in the store start running over to try to pull him off, and there's like 4 people trying to pull him off, and no one can manage to break him free, and he's hitting this kid and putting him in a chokehold. And this is when he says he saw 2 girls try to physically separate the 2, but that they were also hitting Gibson at the same time. And according to the police report, when Sergeant Ortiz, Officer Feuerstein arrived on the scene, they both observed Alan Gibson lying on his back with several individuals kneeling over him, punching and kicking him with several other individuals in the immediate area. The officers then arrested the 3 students, charged Alladin with robbery. That's a felony charge. Lawrence and Whetstone, they were charged with assault. Oberlin Police Lieutenant Michael McCloskey saying that store owners do have a right to detain shoplifters, saying the Ohio Revised Code does allow store proprietors or employees of those stores to detain and arrest shoplifters. If they have probable cause to believe that someone is trying to take items from the store, they can legally, in a reasonable manner, detain them for a length of time until police get there to arrest the suspect. But many people very quickly started saying that this was a racially motivated act. Soon we saw hundreds of people gather outside of the bakery in protest. One poster that was being passed around said that this was a racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination. Today we urge you to shop elsewhere. The Student Senate at Oberlin College passed a resolution that said the students of Oberlin College immediately cease all support, financial and otherwise, of Gibson's Food Market and Bakery. They also called for members of the administration to formally condemn the bakery. A member of the Black Student Union at Oberlin College saying multiple students have had accounts of being followed around the store, being accused of stealing, having to turn their pockets out when they weren't stealing anything just because they were black or brown students. Now, since this incident, the students that were involved have pled guilty to charges of attempted theft and aggravated trespassing. They've also released statements that said their actions were wrong, that the store wasn't racist. And what we're seeing now is the bakery has actually filed a defamation lawsuit against the school for encouraging the protests against the bakery. And they specifically focus on Meredith Raimondo, the dean of students. They allege that she used a bullhorn at one of the protests, that she was handing out flyers that said the bakery was racist, that they had a long account of racial profiling and discrimination. The suit accuses the school of facilitating the protest by canceling classes, passing out flyers, supplying protesters with free food and drinks. And to the allegations about profiling, he said that the suit is about standing up for his right to crack down on shoplifting without being branded as racist. Also pointing out police figures from the past 5 years, that only 6 out of 40 adults arrested for shoplifting at the bakery were black. So essentially his argument is that we're not going after brown or black people. We're going after whoever in that moment we think is trying to steal from us, which based on the actual arrest numbers, black people are a minority. Now, in response to this lawsuit, Oberlin College has responded, saying we are saddened that the Gibson family has chosen to pursue litigation. As this is now a legal matter, the college will suspend effective immediately its business relationships with Gibson's Bakery until such time as a mutually productive relationship may be reestablished. And I'm very interested to see where this goes, not only because I think just the general situation is interesting, but also because I want to see what else this college does. This isn't the first time this school has popped up in the news. It popped up in 2015 because there were students angry about sushi. There was outrage on campus, people calling the sushi disrespectful to the Japanese, that it was culinary cultural appropriation. So that's not going to help the school defend themselves from the people claiming that the school and the students that are complaining are just SJWs. At the same time, we do have a conflicting report on how things started. I don't know, I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts around this story? And then let's talk about Roy Moore and Doug Jones. Yesterday I said, you know, if I had to guess, I had to lean into it. The numbers as we were seeing them, that Roy Moore was going to be able to pull it off. But lo and behold, Roy Moore lost to Doug Jones by what is believed to be 1.5% of the vote. And this is huge news in Alabama because Alabama hasn't elected a Democrat to the Senate in 25 years. And even that guy was described as a conservative Democrat who eventually became a Republican. Now, as far as who voted for what, we look to the exit polls. But do keep in mind, these are exit polls, not exact reality taken from the ballots. Among party lines and with independents, we saw a very significant split in the vote. Based on age, we see the young people leaning to the left, older people leaning to the right. Based on ethnicity and gender, we saw a majority of white men and white women voting for Moore. With black men and black women especially, we saw voting for Jones. Now, despite Doug Jones winning by 1.5% of the vote, Moore refused to concede. Last night telling supporters in Montgomery that he may pursue a recount.
And realize when the vote is this close that it's not over. And we still got to go by the rules about this recount provision. And that's what we've got to do, is wait on God and let this process play out. But the votes are still coming in, and we're looking at that. May God bless you as you go on. May He give you a safe journey. And thank you for coming tonight. It's not over, and it's going to take some time.
That said, it doesn't really look like anyone other than Jones will be in the Alabama seat. The current margin is too large for an automatic recount. That would have to be under 0.5%. That said, a recount is always possible if the candidate requests and pays the cost, so who knows? That said, after the vote, many people turned to President Trump to see what he was going to say. And last night he tweeted, "Congratulations to Doug Jones on a hard-fought victory. The write-in votes played a very big factor, but a win is a win. The people of Alabama are great, and the Republicans will have another shot at this seat in a very short period of time. It never ends." Which I will say personally, I was shocked that there was a response that cordial. I even tweeted last night that seemed far more reasonable than what I was expecting. Someone was critical of that tweet. I then responded, "I'm honestly shocked he didn't mention that he picked Luther Strange and he would have easily won, etc., etc. That would be classic Trump in my opinion." And then at 3:22 a.m., Donald Trump tweeted, "The reason I originally endorsed Luther Strange and his numbers went up mightily is that I said Roy Moore will not be able to win the general election. I was right. Roy worked hard, but the deck was stacked against him." See, that's the Donald Trump I know. He does not like to lose. Remember he had those tweets where he was supporting and endorsing Luther Strange online, and then when he lost, he deleted them? Which, by the way, Donald Trump was actually right. Luther Strange was the best choice if they wanted to make sure that Alabama stayed red. But honestly, last night, I mean, just take a look. Most of the headlines were like, "Moore loses." This was more about Moore than it was about Doug Jones. It's Alabama. Doug Jones would have lost to an empty bag with the words "pro-life, roll tide" on it. Also to the Democrats that are saying, this is the change. This is the change that we've been wanting to see. This is the change towards the 2018 election. Yes and no. In the special elections we've seen this year, including the one last night, Democrats beat benchmarks. The voting differentials have been big. And yes, what was seen last night is that President Trump's promotion, his endorsement, does have limitations. But the only known limitations last night is the endorsement of someone that is seemingly very homophobic and someone who is alleged to have touched underage girls. So last night was representative of change, but not as much as you think. Also, in advance for the 2018 election, let's just look at Alabama. Based on the vote last night, where the Democrat got more votes than the Republican. If the votes across party lines went the exact same way, you voted red, you voted blue, if they were voting for representatives for the House of Representatives, last night the Republicans would have taken 6 out of the 7 seats. Obviously, that should open up a conversation about gerrymandering, but it is very important to point out to Democrats who are enjoying this victory that you have many, many, many hurdles ahead of you. I mean, just look at the insanity of how they carve up those districts to make sure that it leans one way. It's wild. And as it always happens with something like this, people started looking around for who to blame. Some blaming Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who kept his distance from Moore's campaign. Before the networks called the race last night, Sean Hannity also attributed it to McConnell.
I think Mitch McConnell has a lot of culpability in all of this. I was a Mo Brooks supporter from day one, and I thought he would have been a great candidate. The person that came out strongest against Mo Brooks, Matt, was Mitch McConnell.
That's
Mitch
right.
McConnell, literally put himself in the middle of the race time and again, and it didn't work out well for him.
Others instead blamed former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon. This because he was pushing hard on Moore's candidacy despite all the allegations against him. Many people seeing him as such a polarizing figure that it may have actually inspired people to vote against Moore. New York Republican Congressman Peter King writing on Twitter, "After Alabama disaster, GOP must do right thing and dump Steve Bannon. His act is tired, inane, and morally vacuous. If we are to make America great again for all Americans, Bannon must go, and go now." And that is where we are right now. As far as will there be more fallout, whether Bannon or McConnell, who knows? Will Moore push for a recount which leads to end-of-year craziness? Maybe. But what I do know for sure is if you thought 2017 was crazy, I don't know if it's going to hold a candle to 2018. And for everything else, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But of course, this is the Philip DeFranco Show. It's not just me talking about the story, then giving my thoughts. I want to hear from you, beautiful bastards. What do you think about this story, the first one, anything in between? I'd love to know your opinions and reasoning in those comments down below. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you like this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco Show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to watch one of the more lighthearted behind-the-scenes videos, click or tap right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name is Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.